So, your fundraising is taking off. I mean, that's a fantastic problem to have, right? But here's the thing. It brings this hidden challenge with it. What happens when your success starts to outpace your internal systems? Today, we're going to break down the compliance risks that come with that kind of growth and, most importantly, how you can manage them.
This explainer is part of our multi-state fundraising compliance series, where we try to make these really complex topics practical and understandable. Today's resource comes to us from Ironwood Registrations.
Okay, so your organization is really hitting its stride. You're seeing more donors, you're launching bigger campaigns, and your visibility is just skyrocketing. I mean, this is exactly the momentum you've been working toward.
But, and this is the big question, as your fundraising accelerates, your compliance exposure is changing too. And believe me, it's often happening way faster than you might think.
You know, this is what we call growth's hidden challenge. It's this dangerous gap that opens up when the systems that worked perfectly for you when you were smaller just can't keep up with your new speed.
So what does that actually look like? Let's put some numbers to it. At $500,000 in revenue, your compliance needs are probably pretty straightforward. But then you jump to $5 million, and suddenly you're dealing with obligations in multiple states, and you need fully audited financials. This is exactly where that infrastructure gap becomes a real, tangible risk.
So, where do these pressure points actually show up? Let's break it down into 3 key risks that you really need to keep on your radar.
All right, first up, geography. As your mission gains momentum, your reach naturally extends, often into new states and jurisdictions. And that has some very direct compliance implications.
Just think about the tools we all use for modern fundraising. A social media post that goes viral, a national digital ad campaign, or even a super successful peer-to-peer fundraiser. All of a sudden, you could be getting donations from states where you've never even registered, and these activities can trigger new obligations before you even realize it's happening.
Okay, number 2. The pressure isn't just external, it's internal too. Growth doesn't just expand your reach, it also triggers new requirements and puts a major strain on your existing processes.
For example, as your revenue climbs, you might cross a specific financial threshold in a state, and boom! Now you need a full audited financial statement where you didn't before. And as you register in more and more states, all those renewal deadlines can start to bunch up, creating a crazy compressed season that just buries your team in paperwork.
And the third risk? Well, this one really hits close to home. It's about your team and your reputation. See, rapid growth doesn't just strain systems, it strains communication and puts you under a much, much brighter public spotlight.
You know, one of the most common problems is a misalignment between the development team, the ones driving all that growth, and the finance team, who has to handle the compliance. If they're not in sync, gaps are bound to appear. And at the same time, your registration status is usually publicly searchable. A lapsed filing becomes so much more damaging when donors, grant makers, and regulators are all watching. So we've covered what the risks are, but let's talk about why they happen. It turns out the real culprit here isn't bad intentions. It's the sheer pace of growth itself.
Look, nobody intends to fall out of compliance. That's not the issue.
The issue is that rapid growth just compresses your timelines. It pushes you into new states, it shoves you over revenue thresholds, and it multiplies your obligations all at the same time. It's the speed that creates the strain.
Okay, so knowing all these risks, how do we get ahead of them? Well, here's the good news. There is a clear, proactive path forward, and it's all about scaling responsibly.
The path forward is to start treating growth as a trigger for an infrastructure review. This means you're regularly looking at your donor geography, you're actively monitoring those financial thresholds in every state, and, crucially, you are making sure your development and finance teams are totally aligned. The goal here is to build systems that support your growth, not slow it down.
Let's just pull back for a moment and reframe how we think about all this, because compliance isn't just a chore to get through. It's actually a strategic asset for sustainable growth.
This is maybe the most important takeaway of all. Your compliance infrastructure, it's not a roadblock, it's not red tape, it's the foundation that makes your growth stable and sustainable. I mean, you wouldn't build a skyscraper on a weak foundation, right? Well, the exact same principle applies to your organization.
So, at the end of the day, that mission momentum is fantastic, but it has to be supported by operational stability. As your fundraising speeds up, your compliance has to scale right alongside it. Proactive monitoring isn't just about avoiding risk, it's about protecting the very mission you've worked so incredibly hard to build.
If you want to dive deeper on this, you can find additional compliance guides and more educational resources on charitable solicitation and multi-state fundraising over at ironwoodregistrations.com.